I.S.L.A.M. Tradewinds Books presents Captain Muawiyah and the River of Secrets. Join us as we read a chapter titled The River People. The next morning, the fog was thick again. It clung to the water like a blanket, turning the river into a world of shadows. The trees looked like ghosts. Even the birds were quiet. The boys moved slowly, paddling more than sailing, relying on the pole to guide the way. Then out of the mist, they saw shapes, low square huts made of reed and wood, perched on stilts above the water. Muawiyah squinted. Is that a village? Niadi rubbed his eyes. In the middle of the river? Saad held up a hand. Quiet, let's not startle anyone. They paddled closer. The village was small, maybe 25 huts total, connected by narrow wooden bridges. Smoke rose from one fire pit. Nets were dried on bamboo poles. Small wooden canoes were tied near the homes, gently bobbing. Then a voice called out, not in a language they knew. It came from a tall woman standing on one of the bridges, wrapped in layered fabric the color of tree bark and river moss. Her face was calm, curious, not angry. The children who were with her ran off. Muawiyah raised his hands and yelled, "We come in peace." The woman, just like the children, disappeared into one of the huts. Seconds later, several villagers emerged, men, women, and children. Some carried woven baskets, others held long sticks or tools. They didn't seem afraid, just interested. One elder with silver in his beard stepped forward and pointed at the boat. He said something that sounded strange, a melodic language, except the first part sounded like he said, "Assalamu alaikum." Could it be that they were Muslim? Muawiyah didn't understand, but Saad did something clever. He stepped forward and placed his hand on his chest and said, "Assalamu alaikum, this is Muawiyah." He then pointed to the captain. "Saad," he pointed back to himself, then to Niadi and said, "I am Saad, and this is Niadi." The elder stared, smiling, and replied, "Wa alaikum salam, Muawiyah, Saad, Niadi," followed by more words unrecognizable to us. He gestured towards the huts and said something like "Bumaraku," which they took as an invitation. They tied the crescent wind beside a floating dock and followed the villagers into their home. The huts were cool and fragrant with bakur. They were offered sweet river tea made from leaves and flower petals, and a fresh stew of fish and squash. The villagers seemed very excited and offered the boys plates of roasted yams with honey. After eating, the elder returned with a small angling system and nets for the crescent wind to make catching fish easier on their journey. He handed bait for the lures to Muawiyah and spoke slowly in his language, followed by a dua in Arabic. "I place your deen, your faithfulness, and the ends of your deeds in the trust of Allah." Muawiyah replied, "Jazakallah khair, Sheikh." The Sheikh touched his heart and with his pointer finger pointed up to the sky and said, "Allah is above his throne." Muawiyah replied, "In a manner that suits his majesty." The elder smiled and embraced Muawiyah in a loving hug. Later, they offered dhuhr with the villagers. A small child mimicked Saad's sujood, face pressed against the mat, then popped up grinning. Muawiyah couldn't help but laugh. Looks like he made a friend. Niadi replied, "That's not the only friend." He tilted his head in the direction of the small child's sister sitting in the back with the rest of the women. Saad and the young lady have been exchanging shy glances the entire stay. Muawiyah replied, "I see. A good captain would help his first mate achieve the wealth necessary to get married." By the third day of their stay, The villagers finished repairing the loose planks on the boat and loaded bundles of dried fish, dried fruits, and jugs of water. The elder spoke again in Arabi to Muawiyah and Niadi. The river will test your heart, but the stars will guide you on your journey. Muawiyah gestured over to Sa'ad, who was in conversation with the young lady's father. They departed just before sunset, sails catching the fading gold light. The children waved from the bridges while Sa'ad had a look of what my mother would call romance in his eyes. As the stars blinked into view, Sa'ad leaned back staring at the vastness of the stars and said, I will return to this village one day, bi'idhnillah. Muawiyah replied to his friend and softly said, bi'idhnillah, my dear friend. I hope you enjoyed this excerpt from Captain Muawiyah and the River of Secrets. If you'd like to read the whole story, pick up a copy on Amazon.